Baki is a series that is filled with muscle-bound men, gory and brutal fight scenes, and a commitment to realizing the true meaning of strength in a world where nuclear bombs can be tanked by human beings because reasons. But in this world of limit-breaking fighters, one falls short of his own potential because he simply doesn't know how to fight when his own life is on the line. Baki features many real-life fighters with their names reworked for legal purposes, and you can figure out who most of them are despite Keisuke Itagaki's unique art style. But the one fighter that can be recognized within a heartbeat once you see his face is Muhammad Ali, or rather his son Muhammad Ali Jr. The fictional boxer's son of the real-life boxing legend is introduced towards the tail end of part 2 of Netflix's Baki, and he makes an immense impact on the narrative immediately. Ali Jr. is both Mr. Runs His Mouth and Mr. Steal Yo Girl in the series, yet in the end, neither of these things help him achieve his ultimate goal of defeating Baki. And while you might think that's because of Ali Jr.'s actions and misplaced self-confidence, we'd like to argue that his anatomy played a role in it as well, because despite being jacked to the gills, Muhammad Ali Jr.'s enviable anatomy lacks one crucial element that Baki's does not, and that's what we're here to talk about. So without further ado, this is Muhammad Ali Jr.'s Anatomy Explored. The hot new challenger in town, Muhammad Ali Jr.'s introduction in Baki. The fictional son of the boxing legend is introduced towards the tail end of the second season of Netflix Baki, as our protagonist recovers from his near-fatal fight with the poison hand user Ryuko Yanagi in a hospital. We shift perspectives to a training gym where a few MMA fighters are training. One of them, the lead fighter Dave, is talking to his manager about how he has a special training session set up with someone who doesn't do this kind of thing at all. The manager asks him if this is some kind of famous fighter, but Dave responds that Master doesn't fight like that. As the two are conversing, a large hulking beast of a man walks into the gym with a bag slung over his shoulders, and we can immediately tell who this guy is supposed to be. Keisuke Itagaki's series has been called unsettling and outright grotesque at times for his signature art style, but even with his particular way of beefing up already bulky men to the absolute gills, Muhammad Ali Jr.'s design is unmistakable. That's because in the series, he's a spitting image of his legendary father. Muhammad Ali Jr. looks like Ali Sr. in his prime, and arguably far more in shape thanks to the way Itagaki likes to draw things. Turns out, Ali Jr. isn't a professional boxer in the series. He isn't the heavyweight champion like his dad was, and there's a reason for that. You see, what he practices isn't boxing. It's the Muhammad Ali style of martial arts. Baki is primarily a martial arts-based series. Boxing is a fighting sport like MMA, Judo, Kenpao, etc. It doesn't have the guidelines or fluidity that martial arts does. Well, at least in the real world. In the world of Baki, the fighting style of Muhammad Ali in particular has been called as close a thing to martial arts as there can be, and we'll explain why that is in a few moments. For now, if you were watching episode 24 where Muhammad Ali Jr. showed up for the first time, you too would be forgiven for thinking that this guy was most definitely a boxer. After Dave and Ali Jr. agree to the terms of the sparring lesson, the latter breaks out 18-ounce sparring gloves, to which Dave asks if that's fine considering their fighting styles are so different. We're no experts on the subject, but generally speaking, MMA has a faster and more frantic rhythm than boxing. Plus, it seems like in this sparring match anything goes, which gives Dave a lot of movement advantage in that he can utilize his full arsenal of holds and strikes instead of adapting to a boxing-specific moveset. If he's quick enough, he can have Ali Jr. down and out in a matter of seconds. But this wouldn't be much of a training lesson for Dave if it was that easy, now would it? The reason why Dave asked about the gloves is because traditionally, heavier gloves mean the fighters have to throw slower, more accurate punches to really make those blows count. As an MMA fighter, he could exploit that time difference 1,000 different ways, which is exactly what he tries to do on 4 separate occasions during this sparring match. But he fails every single time because Ali Jr. is lightning fast despite not being a professional fighter. He is able to dodge every incoming strike from Dave by simply swaying back, showing his insane reaction time, and he is able to cinch the deal for himself by landing one swift finishing blow on Dave while he was in the middle of executing a tackle. This introduction, paired with the fact that at the end of the episode, Ali Jr. goes on to meet Yujiro Hanma himself, established him as someone to be taken seriously pretty early on. And that establishment of Ali Jr.'s freak anatomy is continued through his own progress during the Great Rai Tai tournament arc, and an interview being given by his father to a sports journalist that is spliced into the episodes like some excellent documentary footage. A child prodigy that gained the ogre's respect and perfected what his father couldn't. The anatomical pedigree of Muhammad Ali Jr. in Baki. As we've already noted multiple times in this video, Baki uses a fictionalized version of both Muhammad Ali and his son in order to tell their story. But that doesn't mean that the show doesn't refer to Ali's real-life history in its own way. That documentary-style interview we mentioned in the last segment, that takes place at a time when Ali Sr. is exhibiting clear signs of Parkinson's disease, something the real-life Ali was publicly diagnosed with towards the tail end of his career. You can see that Ali Sr. is clearly out of it at some points during his interview, and he is visibly slurring through the words as well. All the while, the interviewer can barely hold back his reverence for the champ as well as his sympathy for his regressed state, but that isn't it. Baki also takes us behind the scenes and gives us a glimpse at what was going on during the infamous 1976 showdown between Muhammad Ali and Japanese pro wrestling legend Antonio Inoki, who was named Igari in the show. This exhibition bout was notorious for causing a riot in the Budokan Hall and giving Ali permanent leg damage that ended up having a prolonged effect on his boxing career. It also exposed the only weak spot in what Baki likes to call the Muhammad Ali style of martial arts, the seemingly non-adaptive footwork. For those of you who know about Ali versus Inoki, you will know that the reason why their fight caused a riot in the Budokan and other places where it was broadcast was because of Inoki's strategy for the match. He knew that if he got anywhere within the range of Ali's punches, he'd be done for. So instead, Inoki spent most of the 15 rounds close to the ground, trying to kick Ali's feet out from underneath him in order to stay within the special rules of the exhibition contest. The result was a heartless 15 rounds, which saw Inoki mostly on his back. In the end, the crowd got so heated they pelted the ring with trash, and it allegedly took Budokan staff over a day to clean up all of the garbage. This weakness in Ali's game, not having a response for strikes or grappling moves in his boxing repertoire, was migrated over to Baki and turned from a bug into a feature. In the show, when Ali arrived in Japan, he was ready for the fight and was training really hard too, but then a fighter of his reputation arriving in Japan and going out on the streets to run at night is like dangling easy prey in front of a lion, and the lion, in this case, was Yujiro Hanma. Baki's father ambushed Ali's training squad and made the man put his guard up for the first time in his life. After a brief encounter, Yujiro understood what Ali had tried to create with his unique form of boxing and gave him his flowers for standing up against racism and evading the draft during the Vietnam War. But he also recognized one thing: Ali's martial arts style was incomplete. Turns out, during the 3 years that Ali was not allowed to fight due to evading conscription, he ended up losing out on the time that was most crucial to perfecting his style of martial arts. And that's why, at least according to Baki's canon, the second half of his boxing career felt different to the first. But this is also where the subject of our video becomes relevant, because what the legendary Muhammad Ali couldn't accomplish, his son did as a teenager. After understanding just how many levels below Yujiro he was as a martial arts practitioner and creating a bond of mutual respect with him, Ali Sr. asks the ogre to come meet his son. The first time Ali Jr. meets the ogre, he's barely out of preschool, but he senses Yujiro not treating his dad like the rest of humanity, and Junior's first thought is to throw hands. Shockingly, the ogre plays along with the kid as well, letting him get a few picture-perfect strikes in on his face, or as perfect as they can be for a kid, before deciding to show him the real gulf in their strengths. Yujiro flicks Ali Jr. on the head with a single finger and sends him flying into the wall behind him, after which he scolds the kid for nearly crying because of the pain and telling him to stomach it like a true fighter. Ali Jr. does, and then he goes on to do two things that make him seem like the perfect foil for Baki upon his introduction. During the interview between Ali Sr. and the reporter, we are told that at his prime, the legendary boxer could punch faster than welterweight and middleweight legend Sugar Ray Robinson, despite being a heavyweight himself. According to the show, Ali's strike pace was somewhere around 0.11 seconds, which is lightning fast when we're talking about human fists. But what's even more impressive is Ali Jr. Muhammad Ali states that his son's punches are even faster than his, and we do see evidence of that scattered throughout the series, especially during Ali Jr.'s encounter with Doppo Orochi, where he pulls off a frankly insane feat of instinct and agility. Ali Jr. is able to avoid one of the experienced martial artist's serious blows mid-strike and land a knockout counter, which, yes, was as crazy to witness as it was to describe just now. But there's a massive catch to that punch that we'll get to in the next section. For now, let's continue talking about Junior in comparison to Ali Sr. It seems that the fight with Yujiro sparked something within the young Ali because he ended up doing what his father couldn't and perfected the Muhammad Ali style of martial arts. He proved this when he handed his father his final loss as nothing more than a young adult, which completely broke the latter's fighting spirit for a while there. there. Ali Sr. tells the reporter that despite his current condition, if he had only 1 minute on the clock, he's still the best fighter in the world, and then shows him proof regarding the same. But he had no delusions about what he was capable of doing and what he couldn't handle. This is where all of Muhammad Ali Jr.'s gifts sort of become his curse as well, because this guy simply had no idea what he could and couldn't handle. And while that sounds unrelated to this anatomy video here, we'll show you exactly why it is in just a minute. His greatest anatomical weakness is his mind. How Muhammad Ali Jr. squanders his potential in favor of sportsmanship. At the beginning of episode 10 of the 3rd season of Netflix's Baki, Muhammad Ali Jr. looks as good as he did upon his introduction to the series. By its end, it looks like someone shot him through with missiles topped with boxing gloves, and he also nearly loses his tongue in a bit of grotesquerie that is especially choice, even for a series like Baki. And if you thought that that was the worst that things were going to get for Jr., well, he still had at least 2 other things coming for him. There is no denying that Muhammad Ali Jr. is a great fighter in his own right. At 6'2", somewhere between 180 to 200 pounds, and all of it lean, chiseled muscle, he's one of the quickest fighters that we've seen in the entire series. By perfecting the style of martial arts his dad wanted to create, Ali Jr. was able to overcome what was, at the time, the only known major flaw in Muhammad Ali's game, which was the inability to stop incoming lower strikes. When Ali Jr. met Yujiro Hanma before joining the Great Rai Tai tournament, the ogre tried goading him into a fight but failed miserably when Ali Jr. called him out for lying on his back, which, in a fight with fair rules, means that his opponent has already given up. Sure, he uses tact to get out of actually having to deal with Yujiro's kicks, but then during Ali Jr.'s selection process for the Rai Tai tournament, he is faced with a similar scenario and not given the option to simply walk away. In order to participate in the tournament, Ali Jr. must defeat his opponent, even if their fighting stances stick close to the ground. So what does he do? He gets up close and personal, invites his opponent to land a single hit, and then proceeds to dodge each and every one of his kicks with terrifying speed. Ali Jr. makes short work of his screening opponent and is granted a spot in the tournament. He has seemingly figured out all the weaknesses in his dad's fight game, and he proves it by defeating Sea King Joe, a behemoth of a man, with a single decisive punch. Later, during his fight with Sea King Han, Ali Jr. proves that even perceived flaws in his game aren't flaws, they're features. Han utilizes a similar strategy to Agari against Ali Jr., in that he too decides to use kicks as his primary method of attacking his opponent. He takes it up a notch by delivering standing kicks that give him a better field of operation than Igari's on-the-back approach. Han also thought that the naturally superior striking power of a kick over a punch gave him the advantage against Ali Jr., but the latter used kicks of his own to leverage his style into landing a lethal 2-hit combo that knocked Han so senseless his body didn't react to the shot for over a minute. The Great Rai Tai tournament ended with a victory for Team US/Japan, which technically meant that both Ali Jr. and Baki Hanma won, but to Ali Jr., there could only be one real champion. He knew that Baki was the underground champ in these parts, and he had his eyes set on his girl Kozue as well, ever since he met her shortly after Baki was hospitalized. Jr. wanted both Baki's title and his girl, so he decided to defeat all of his previous iconic opponents in unofficial street fights, and here's where he messed up. Muhammad Ali Jr., at the age of 25, was a lean, mean fighting machine inside the ring. When there were rules involved and there was no risk of death, he was about as good as they came. Better even than his own father, who is regarded as one of the greatest boxers of all time, period. But when you take out the rules and regulations and add in the risk of death, it's a whole different ballgame, and one that Ali Jr. is not willing to play. Jr. challenges 3 people to unofficial street fights in his quest to prove that he's better than Baki and win Kozue's heart in the process as well. The first 2, Goki Shibukawa and Doppo Orochi, fight him with a lenient mindset. Shibukawa essentially treats the encounter like a sparring session, and Doppo Orochi gets serious about midway, which throws Jr. off his game for a moment, but only a moment. His real anatomical weakness is exposed when he tries to mess with Jack Hanma, because as it turns out, Muhammad Ali Jr.'s anatomy is prone to immense bouts of cowardice and stupidity. Ali Jr. knows that Jack is a steroid abuser. He's aware of Jack's reputation as a fierce underground fighter, yet he decides to poke the bear, and not only that, he acts superior about it at all times. He approaches Jack and treats him like a stepping stone during their initial greetings, and once they're in a quiet enough place to fight, he even asks Jack to juice up if he wants to, as it would make no difference to him. Jr. was indifferent to Jack's refusal, but what caught his attention was the fact that Jack tanked what was basically his knockout punch. Being a Hanma and having survived countless horrific procedures on his body in a bid to catch up to his father, Jack had become unnaturally durable to things that would break us normies. One such thing was Ali Jr.'s punch, after which Jack beat the ever-loving crap out of him. Ali Jr. got cocky, thinking this would be a fair fight where his life wouldn't be at risk, but that's where he messed up majorly. Jack does not fight with mercy. He cuts Ali Jr.'s tongue in half with the beating he puts on it, and doesn't leave him be when Jr. stupidly asks him for more thanks to his never give up attitude. It's more like he doesn't know when to shut up and what the rules of this new world of fighting he's entered into are, because he is then challenged to rematches by both Goki and Doppo, who proceed to wreck him despite his condition. Jr. is baffled by how these so-called fighters can take advantage of an opponent that is injured so heavily, but he doesn't seem to understand what a life and death fight is. Even his dad, Muhammad Ali Sr., manages to get 5 years of secret training done, and despite knowing that his son has broken wrists, feet, and everything in between, proceeds to beat his ass while he's down because, to be frank with you, that's how the world of Baki works. Ali Jr. is simply not cut out to be a cutthroat street fighter, and that's a part of his anatomical flaws in the sense that his thinking hinders him from reaching his actual full potential. Ali Jr. could be an absolute killer if he wanted to, and he tries to become one in the post-defeat to dad training montage where he works through his injuries and gets back into peak fighting shape to take on Baki. But then he fights Baki, and the difference between them is immediately clear. Ali Jr. might have trained a lot. He might have added a new edge to his game, but he still wasn't ready to put his own life on the line to win a match. Baki nearly chokes him out in the middle of the underground arena beneath the Tokyo Dome, and Muhammad Ali Sr. is forced to intervene in the match to save his son's life. This crushing defeat utterly breaks Ali Jr., whom we last see bawling like a child, repulsing even Kozue, whose affections could up until then have been said to be divided between Baki and Jr. Baki retains his title, and we never see Muhammad Ali Jr. again, which is a damn shame because a lot of people liked his character and seem to think he was punked out towards the end rather quickly. We tend to disagree though. It's true that Jr. got a punk ending, but his character was established as a rule-profiting, arrogant prick from the beginning. Sure, he might have seemed humble with Dave and Yujiro, but anime is an expressive medium, and Jr.'s eyes gave away his true arrogance in those early stages. Once we entered Season 3, all you had to do was look at his interactions with Kozue to understand that this guy was just full of himself because of what he had managed to accomplish without risking his life. So, once his life was actually threatened, Jr. crumbled under the pressure and ended up becoming nothing more than a pathetic simp that cries because he lost the girl he never had. Ali Jr. had a ton of potential as a semi-regular character, but he is yet to be seen again in either the anime or the manga, so expecting a comeback from him is wishing upon a star. But hey, crazier things have happened, especially in the world of Baki, so you never know. Marvelous verdict! What we do know is that this is about everything we have to offer you in this video. Anatomically speaking, Muhammad Ali Jr. was a freak of an athlete. He had enough punching power to knock out super heavyweights, and his punches were allegedly faster than 0.11 seconds, which is just nuts if you ask us. His swaybacks were otherworldly, and his boxing ability was second to none, but his mental state was a plate of hot garbage, and that's how he ended up towards the end of his run with Baki. Ali Jr. is the prime example of what overconfidence and a misplaced sense of sportsmanship can do to you, because not everyone you pick a fight with will keep things civil afterwards. People hold grudges, and fighters love seeing that big fat W in their own column even after taking a dozen L's. Ali Jr. found that out the hard way, and that's why he's become a joke in the Baki community despite his otherwise outstanding physical anatomy. But that's enough from us. What did you guys think about Muhammad Ali Jr.? Let us know in the comments section down below, and we'll see you guys in the next one.